Welcome back to the Terry and Jesse Show. Father Charles Murr is with us every Monday here on our network. And we're always covering the book by Bishop Sheen called The Life of Christ. And Father, can you kind of repeat what you just said? You know priests that have done dissertations on John chapter 1, verse 1 to 3. And
Absolutely. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I can recall the name of one.
Yeah.
And I won't say his name,
No.
but he was a Jesuit. He
Yeah.
was a Jesuit professor of mine. I didn't particularly like him.
Yeah.
However, it doesn't matter whether I liked him or not. He knew his stuff.
Yeah.
And he did the prologue of St. John. In principio erat verbum, et verbum erat apud Deum, et Deus erat verbum. Right? The word, in the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God.
So
I love that, because there are many people that approach me too. They said, the Bible, they're talking about the New Testament,
Yes.
never says that Christ was God. Christ never said he was God, and it doesn't really say that he was God. That's nonsense.
Right.
That's absolute nonsense. And this Gospel of John says it right on the head.
That's right.
The Word, the Logos,
Yep.
was Christ, was in the beginning with God the Father.
Yep.
He was in the beginning. He was with God the Father, and he was God.
Right.
I don't know how much clearer you want that.
Right.
But we're getting onto something different, Terry.
Tell me.
It's also a prologue of text. In SHEEN, you just talked about it before, the pre-announcement
Yes.
of Christ. And why is that important, Terry?
Tell us.
Well, it's important because it authenticates the messenger.
Mm-hmm.
SHEEN, Bishop SHEEN, in another talk that he gave, said this. He gave this example. If you would take the president of a nation, and he would just get on a plane and show up in London and knock on Buckingham Palace's door and say, "I'm here, I'm President so-and-so." Well, they'd lock him up.
Right.
They would lock him up. He would either be a maniac, or they would accuse him of being a spy or somebody who wanted access to kill the king or the queen or what have you.
Right.
So everyone who wants to pay a visit, look, I've got people who come over to visit me.
Mm-hmm.
They write beforehand.
Of course.
Is it okay that we visit them back and forth? Yes. Well, the same thing. God didn't just send his only begotten Son into the world and say, there he is.
Right.
He prepared the world for him. Now, I've got a particular request to ask of our listening audience.
Sure.
Years ago, I came across a book. I cannot find it. Nobody knows how to direct me toward it. It was a book written by a Jesuit, one of the good ones,
Uh-huh.
with all of the prophecies of Christ, of the Messiah from the Old Testament.
Mm-hmm.
There were approximately 400.
Wow.
There are over 300. There are over 300 prophecies. 40 of them are major. Mm-hmm. But this entire book was of the prophecies. I can't find the book anywhere.
Oh, my God.
If anybody has an idea of that, and I'll tell you what, I'm going to say it right here on this program, and if I don't find that book, I'm going to write it.
Good.
I'll rewrite it, because these prophecies of who Christ is, the pre-announcement of Christ, is the preparation for him that the world needed before he arrived. And it's absolutely fundamental. And what else is important about that, Terry? No other founder of any other religion, and listen, I'm going to say it clearly, every other religion, dare I say this, Terry? Dare I say it?
You should say it, yeah.
Every other religion besides Christianity, besides Catholicism, is false.
That's true. That's been our faith forever.
Yeah,
That's just how it works.
Now, and the reason they're false, one of the reasons is because their founders were not pre-announced.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
Muhammad wasn't pre-announced.
Nope.
Martin Luther wasn't pre-announced.
Nope.
Et cetera, et cetera. So this pre-announcement is something great, and I've got a bigger surprise for you too.
Here's the point that I think is so profound, Father Murr, and our listeners, is that studying the word of that God was before, after, during. In other words, this is outside of time. If can I say it that way? It's outside of time.
Yes.
And I think about that
outside of time and space.
In space, yeah.
And the word was pronounced and entered into time and into space.
Yeah, see, that's powerful. These are thoughts that, maybe you missed because nobody's ever brought them up, but I think Fulton Sheen is really showing the beauty of and the depth of our faith. It's really deep, Father, what he's saying here.
Absolutely. So
your thoughts?
We've got, I want to cover one other thing, because I agree with you, and I agree with Sheen.
Yeah.
Very, very much so. I was very impressed when I read that. I remember reading it many, many years ago. I wasn't a priest. I was like, my goodness. God took time through the prophets. He raised up these men in the Old Testament to prepare people for hundreds of years, at least 400 years, at least 400 years before Christ, with the prophecies of where he was going to be born, where he was going to be raised, who his mother was going to be, that he would have to leave to save his life to go to Egypt. He would come back. All of these things are foretold. And this gives credence to this makes Christ's claim to be the Son of God legitimate.
Well said.
Now here's one thing, and I really never considered that before reading Sheen.
Yeah,
it was there. I mean, I grew up with this, but it never hit home. You said something that's right, and I'm going to disagree with it in part.
Good.
Right? You said Christ, and Sheen is saying this.
Yeah.
So if you're wrong, Terry, you're wrong with the best.
That's cute.
He said no one else was pre-announced.
Right.
Well, I beg to differ.
Okay.
And I'm going to give you an announcement here.
All right,
I'm going to make an announcement. And I shouldn't do it, but I'm going to do it. There is a new book coming out on Our Lady of Guadalupe.
Oh, good.
Right? I think it's revolutionary.
Why is that?
It's not just a nice devotional book. A married couple, Joseph and Monique Gonzalez from California, have been working on this for years.
Wow.
For years. And it's finally going to be published by Sophia Press.
Good.
It should be out in a couple more months. And what it is talking about is this: the pre-announcement of Our Lady of Guadalupe.
Wow. That's interesting. Right? Yeah.
Now I had never heard. I was up with this is a fantastic married couple. They're great people, and they're just excited about this whole theme and about their finds. We were up, I think, until 3:00 in the morning.
Oh my gosh!
Because I had always considered, and I think most of your listeners, I know we're getting a little bit off the theme. Pardon me, but I'm excited about this.
Good. I want to hear about it.
And it goes back to this point that Sheen is making about pre-announcing. I always thought most of our listeners are very familiar with Our Lady of Guadalupe, and most of them have devotion to her.
You bet.
So this I think is going to be of particular interest. Here's what happened. I always thought that the miracle of Our Lady of Guadalupe was the roses she produced. It was originally told to me as a child by the good sisters, but I don't think they read the complete book, right? That roses appeared in December when they don't grow.
Right.
Well, excuse me, I lived in Mexico for almost 15 years.
Wow.
We always had roses in December. So I'm thinking, well, where's the miracle? And then the image that she left on the tilma is the miracle. Well, yes and no. Here's what happened. Imagine this. When the Spaniards went to Mexico, their missionaries went out, mostly Franciscans, but there were some Jesuits also, Father Kino, what have you, right? And Dominicans also. They hardly could make converts. It was almost impossible. It was so difficult that the Franciscan priest in charge of Mexico City wrote back to the King of Spain through his chancellors to take back, I don't know what number of priests of Spaniards that they had sent over because they're wasting their time here. They're wasting their time with the Indians. Nobody's listening to the message of Christ. Nothing.
Wow.
All of a sudden, there is the miracle of Juan Diego. He receives the tilma of Our Lady of Guadalupe.
Right.
The Indians, both the Aztec and the Mayan Indians and the other tribes, recognized in Our Lady of Guadalupe the fulfillment of prophecies that they already had for hundreds of years was what made her credible.
Right. Yeah.
This is how dynamic it was that 9 million people were baptized Catholics. And those priests they were going to send back to Spain, no,